Hey friends. So, on the surface level, we had our last full ensemble rehearsal today. Very fun. We got to hear a couple of the guest singers who are amazing. All good stuff. Really kind of all beautiful. A beautiful last day of rehearsal, although I actually have a couple more days of rehearsal, quiet as it's kept. They may not be officially on the schedule, but they're in my heart, which is what counts. But so I'm enjoying, I suppose, a bit of a kind of like calm before the storm now, because I have a couple days where I'll still be working pretty much continuously, but I'll have a little bit more time to just kind of get away and get little snapshots of the city, maybe see some people that I know and that kind of thing for a couple days before we go record on Monday. And an interesting image has been kind of kicking around for me. I've been just kind of there's an idea, or I think these ideas that I've been turning over in my mind about karma and what it even means to process our karma and all of that has been just kind of kicking around in my mind for a couple of days now, very much in the background because I've had some pretty full-on tasks. But something that occurred to me recently, it wasn't this morning that it occurred to me, but it came up again this morning. I was just thinking about this idea of the merry-go-round, as we talk about it, the wheel of samsara, going the aspect of life that is manifestation, which is really also a way of saying our karma. Something has been coming through where the way that I understand karma now, from really kind of sitting with it in a deeper way than I ever have in Sadhguru's book. It's not that our karma is the good things that happen to us and the bad things that happen to us. Our karma may be those things, but how we feel about them and whether we describe it as good or bad karma is kind of strictly based on our evaluation of what's happening to us in every moment. But what karma certainly is the same things happening to us over and over again. That's the kind of defining feature of karma, is that it sends us around in circles. And what kind of was showing up today is this idea that if we have not gotten tired of going around in circles, we're not gonna transcend the merry-go-round. There's gonna be no desire to and no reason to. If we enjoy going around in circles, we're on the ride. We're enjoying the ride. Why would we want to get off a ride that we're enjoying? It's really, transcending something it really only even comes online as an option, as an impulse in any way, when we begin to feel bored with the same cycle, bored of going around in circles. And it is inherent in consciousness to become bored of going around in circles. You do the same thing enough times, and that thing begins to no longer keep us enthralled. It's no longer seductive. It's no longer attractive. So, in a lot of ways, processing karma or letting go of it is kind of a matter of, it's a very naturally occurring thing. We will living, and this is another thing that I think I'm coming to an understanding of this as I'm speaking right now, because one of the things Sadhguru says towards the end of the book is living is processing karma. You can't live any moment of life that we are living, we are processing karma. That's what we're doing. That's what living is. So we don't have to be too concerned, like, oh, am I dealing with my karma? How could I be dealing with more of my karma? There's this kind of spiritual anxiety we can develop if when we start to think, okay, there's a right way and a wrong way and all of that. And I think my takeaway from both from this book and from just kind of sitting with these ideas for a few days is, I don't need to worry too much about the right way and the wrong way. It's wonderful to get insights from someone like a Sadhguru who clearly is just on another level of consciousness, and to internalize the structure of reality, literally. That's, I think, also maybe why one of his prime pieces of advice is, don't worry too much about getting rid of your own of karma. Don't worry so much about processing it or burning your karma. Just live in such a way as to try not to keep creating more of it. And the simplest way to do that is to be aware of our compulsions and choose consciously. That's it. Be aware of our compulsions. We are a bundle of compulsions. I am a bundle of compulsions. I'm a human being. I'm literally made of automated behavior that has tendencies, that has impulses, that has direction, has momentum, has inertia. And little by little become more and more aware of that, and then choose. It doesn't even mean that I have to necessarily do anything different. Again, if I'm enjoying the ride, stay on the ride. I mean, that's why, again, like, if God hadn't wanted there to be a world, he wouldn't have made one. There's a reason why there's something being worked out in all of this. It's not as simple as transcendence is everything, and this is, again, this kind of leads me, I hadn't even made this connection till just now, but there's a Ken Wilber makes a really insightful distinction between the spiritual impulse as a transcendent impulse and the spiritual impulse as what he calls the immanent impulse, or the embracing impulse. In other words, there's spirituality that is geared towards, whose impulse is to transcend the world, and there's spirituality whose impulse is to include more and more of the world. It's like there's God beyond the world, there's the unmanifest infinite, and then there's God in and as the world, which we can never fully embrace or fully understand or fully even comprehend, but we can expand increasingly. We can continue to embrace more and more, and it doesn't, how much are we embracing? Who's don't pay attention to that. The question is, what's our limitation, and can we, a little bit as I was saying yesterday, can we make ourselves available, vulnerable to engage one layer beyond wherever we are. And it's a really interesting challenge, because as someone who, I think my intellectual and my kind of intuitive impulse is to focus on transcendence. It's to focus on something beyond the material. And I sense a connection to that. I sense that operating in the world. I can see when I center myself in that place, my exterior circumstances change. The world around me changes. The people around me change. So I'm very compelled in that direction. And at the same time, I'm so attached. I do not have to look far to find my attachments, or to find the places where I can understand that I am beyond this attachment, that I'm something more than this attachment, or that that my true identity is not attached, but it's my finite identity that is attached. I can understand that, but my identification, my impulse is to be identified, is to be attached. And I think in a lot of ways that's kind of a healthy thing to recognize. It's healthy to recognize where our attachments are, and not to be sort of not to get too aspirational about transcendence, or to sort of to try to wish myself to a place where I'm more transcended than I am. I don't think that that's a healthy impulse. That feels like going into fantasy. It feels like going into delusion. Whereas there's, I can still remain in a place of connecting. I mean, I can connect with the beyond. I can connect with the consciousness of the moment that is not that is in the world but not of it, in an instant. I can put my awareness there. But the question is, what happens in my day-to-day life? What happens to me when I walk into a room full of people and I'm making music? What happens to me when I'm teaching a student? What happens to me when I'm in a conversation with a family member or a friend or my daughter? What, in all of those circumstances, where am I? Who am I? And it's not always consciousness beyond ego. It's many times another form of identity. So it's like acknowledging that is part of sort of like actually looking at my karma. To not acknowledge that would be to sort of, kind of hope to sort of pretend my way to transcendence. And I think that I'm identifying this because my impulse is to lean into that side of things, lean into that side of the spiritual impulse, as Ken Wilber would describe it, rather than the other one, rather than the immanent domain. Immanent feels like a legal term. but so I'm in a lot of ways I'm flagging this for myself on purpose. I'm bringing it to my own attention so that I can just hold it and see it and witness it, acknowledge and be transparent to myself. Actually see where do I really stand? Where am I really in this? You know, a spiritual practice is only a portion of a spiritual practice is being as objective about ourselves as we can. It's kind of like being a piano student. There's literally no point in pretending that I'm a more advanced pianist than I am. That will only result in suffering for me, suffering for the people that I play for, suffering for my teacher, for my students. There's literally nothing there that's, I mean, again, it's kind of a weird analogy, maybe not, but that's definitely true in the spiritual practice as well. There's no point in pretending we are somewhere we're not. And I think what's coming through for me is putting my mind on the concrete and on where I truly am in my moment-to-moment life. So that's what's showing up today, folks. Got a couple days to marinate in that, and I'm gonna go make an album. So thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Love you. Yeah, you mean the world to me. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.